The day I made my high school bully cry, I always believed that high school would be a temporary chapter of my life, one that I could close without looking back. For most people, that's true. It's 4 years of awkward growth, exams, teenage drama, and the occasional football game that feels much more important than it really is. For me, though, those 4 years carried scars that lingered far longer than they should have. Because of one person, Derek. Derek wasn't the biggest guy in school. He wasn't the smartest either. But he had a talent, a rare gift that made him dangerous. He could read people. He could spot insecurity like a shark smells blood in the water, and he had no hesitation in circling and striking. I was his favorite prey. I wasn't weak. I wasn't spineless. I was just different. I liked books more than basketball. I liked sketching in the margins of my notebook instead of shouting with the crowd at pep rallies. My clothes weren't the latest fashion, and I didn't care about status. To Derek, that made me a target. Someone he could sharpen his tongue on, someone he could push around to remind himself he was on top. It started small. Comments about my haircut, about the way I walked, about the way I answered questions in class. Then it escalated. Books shoved from my hands, my locker graffitied with childish insults, whispered rumors about crushes I never had. I laughed it off at first, but laughter has limits. After a while, I stopped laughing. I started dreading school every morning, knowing I'd have to face his smirk. Teachers did nothing. Friends, what few I had, told me to ignore him. He'll get bored eventually, they said. But Derek never got bored. He got creative. The day he made me eat dirt in front of the whole soccer team during gym class, something in me snapped. I never forgot the taste of the gravel or the chorus of laughter. I promised myself that one day I'd make him pay, not just with fists, not just with words. I wanted him to feel small. I wanted him to feel humiliated. I wanted him to cry. Years later, life has a way of handing you opportunities when you least expect them. 10 years after graduation, I was doing well. I'd built a quiet but steady career as a graphic designer. I freelanced for a few big clients, enough to pay for a comfortable apartment and the freedom to avoid office politics. I had confidence now, the kind I lacked in high school. I worked out. I dressed better. I carried myself differently. One evening, scrolling through social media, I saw a familiar face tagged in a photo. Derek. Older, sure, but unmistakably him. Same smug grin, though it looked a little worn now, a little stretched. He was promoting something, an event, a reunion, of all things. High school was hosting a 10-year reunion, and Derek was on the planning committee. The caption read, "Don't miss it. Come relive the glory days with old friends. Drinks, music, memories." I nearly scrolled past. Why would I go? Why would I put myself back in the same room as the people who laughed while I suffered? But then, something cold and sharp flickered inside me. This wasn't just a reunion. This was a stage. And Derek was the self-appointed host. I decided I was going. I didn't want to just show up and look successful. That would be too easy. No, I wanted Derek to feel it, to collapse under the weight of his own arrogance. The first step was research. A little digging online told me plenty. Derek had peaked in high school, just like I suspected he would. After graduation, he tried college but dropped out after a year. He bounced between jobs, none of them sticking. Eventually, he ended up working at a local car dealership as a salesman. From the looks of his profile, he was still trying to play the role of a big shot. Photos of him with rented sports cars, posing with drinks at cheap bars, captioning them with cliches like, "living the dream." But the cracks were obvious. He wasn't married. He wasn't even in a relationship. His feed was full of forced bravado, not genuine happiness. He was the kind of guy who lived for other people's approval because deep down, he had nothing of his own. Perfect. The reunion. The night of the reunion, I dressed carefully. Sharp, but not flashy. Charcoal blazer, dark jeans, leather shoes polished to a quiet shine. Enough to show I was doing well, but not so much that it looked like I was trying too hard. The event was held in the old gymnasium, decorated with streamers and banners in the school colors. A DJ played songs from our teenage years. The punch bowl sat under a too bright spotlight, surrounded by tables covered in cheap tablecloths. As I walked in, heads turned. A few people recognized me, surprised maybe at how much I'd changed. I wasn't the skinny, nervous kid clutching a sketchbook anymore. I held myself differently. I looked them in the eyes. And then I saw him. Derek, standing near the bar, laughing too loudly at something someone said. He hadn't changed much. A little thicker around the waist, hairline starting to retreat, but the same smug posture, the same self importance. He noticed me after a while. His laughter faltered. I saw the flicker of recognition in his eyes, the slight narrowing, the memory slotting into place. He smirked as if to say, "Oh, look who it is." "Hey," he said, strolling over, drink in hand. Well, if it isn't the punching bag, didn't think you'd show up." There it was, the old Derek, still clinging to a role that should have died years ago. But this time, I didn't flinch. I didn't laugh nervously. I just looked at him, calm and steady. "Good to see you too, Derek," I said smoothly. "Looks like life's treated you about as well as I expected." His smirk twitched, a tiny crack. I didn't go after him directly, not at first. Revenge is best served like a slow, tightening noose. Throughout the night, I mingled. I caught up with classmates, told them about my work, about the projects I'd done. I kept it light, conversational, but the details slipped through. The international clients, the financial stability, the freedom of freelance life. People were impressed. Word spread. I noticed eyes glancing at me with a respect I'd never known back then. And Derek noticed too. He tried to brag, of course, about his success at the dealership, about how he was killing it with sales. But the more he talked, the more obvious it became that he was exaggerating. He spoke too loudly, laughed too hard, interrupted people to steer conversations back to himself. The contrast between us grew clearer with every passing hour. The payback. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. One of our old classmates, drunk and curious, asked me loudly across the table, "Hey, weren't you the one Derek used to mess with all the time? Man, he was brutal." The room went a little quiet. All eyes turned toward us. Derek laughed, raising his hands like he was proud of it. "Yeah, we had some good times, didn't we?" he said, grinning. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch. Then I smiled, not nervously, but deliberately. "You mean when he shoved me into the dirt in front of everyone? Or when he spread rumors that I was into teachers? Yeah, real good times." A few people shifted uncomfortably. Derek's grin wavered. "Come on, man," he said, chuckling. "We were just kids, just messing around." "Funny," I said softly. "I don't remember laughing, but I do remember how it felt, every day, wondering what new way you'd try to humiliate me, wondering if anyone would step in, wondering if I should even bother showing up to school." The silence was heavy now. Everyone was listening. "You know what the best part is, though?" I continued. "You made me stronger. You made me tougher. You made me want to succeed so badly. I worked harder than I ever thought I could. And now, here we are. I'm thriving. And you? You're still trying to convince everyone you matter." Derek's face flushed. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. His eyes darted around, looking for support, but no one jumped in. The laughter was gone. The smirk was gone. For the first time in his life, Derek looked small. And then it happened. His jaw tightened, his eyes watered, not from rage, but from something deeper. Shame. He turned away quickly, muttering something about needing another drink, but not before I saw it, the glimmer of a tear sliding down his cheek. I didn't chase him. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The damage was done. For years, he'd made me feel powerless, humiliated, invisible. That night, in front of the very people who once laughed at my pain, I turned the tables. I made him face what he'd done, and I did it without raising my voice, without lifting a hand. I made Derek cry. And in that moment, I realized something important. Revenge wasn't about destruction. It wasn't about making someone suffer endlessly. It was about balance. It was about taking back the power that had been stolen. I left the reunion early, stepping out into the cool night air. The stars were bright, the streets quiet. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. High school no longer haunted me. Derek no longer haunted me. The scars were still there, sure, but now they were just reminders. Proof that I'd survived. Proof that I'd won. Like and subscribe. Share if this happened to you or someone you